Hello, here we are again. We've decided, I don't know why I say we. It's not we. It's I. I'm the only one here. This is a solo podcast. Maybe one day there will be guests. Maybe I'll have a guest sometime. But for the time being, it is a solo podcast. It's just me here. But I keep saying we. Like I'm like the royal we. I don't know why I say that, but yeah, you might have noticed. If you listened to the first episode, I was calling it, I've got the microphone. I got the microphone. I've got the microphone. I was calling it that because of the song that I have off the top of the pod from my band Sweet Wrister. The song is just called Microphone, but that's how it goes. I've got the microphone. See, does anyone else, things like the difference between I and I'm such a language guy that something like that would keep me up at night. Like the amount of time when I was gonna call it I've got the microphone. See, it's still a problem in my brain. Because in the song, I just say, I got the microphone, which isn't great English, but there's a poetic license in songwriting where you get away with saying things that you wouldn't say in regular speech, but you get away with it in a song. So I was like, do I call it, I've got the microphone? But I don't like that. I don't like, I've got the microphone. And I don't like, I got the microphone. I like it in the song. I don't like it as a name for the podcast. I was kind of thinking, since I'm using that song for the podcast, well, I have to call it that. But I was looking through one of my notebooks, and I had written down, guess you had to be there. And I think the reason I wrote it down was not for the name of a podcast. It was, so when you're doing stand-up comedy, when you try new jokes that you've never tried in front of people before, you don't know how it's going to go. You have no idea how it's going to go. And it could you could deliver that punchline, and, you know, a lot of the time it is met. And the point is, obviously, laughter. It goes punchline followed by laughter. But that doesn't always happen. Sometimes you deliver that punchline, and what you get is silence. And it's rough. So it's good to have, in situations like that, it's good to have, you don't have to. If you don't care, which, it doesn't affect me too deeply. And I've always just moved on to the next one. You just kind of go, okay. I might say something like, okay, guess that one doesn't work, or okay, moving on, or, or sometimes it's funny to double down on it, just to kind of repeat the punchline again and be like, all right, well, you guys don't get it, or whatever. But I thought it would be kind of a funny thing to be, because we've all heard, guess you had to be there, right? Someone says something that they think is funny, and just in a regular, a social type of thing, someone says something they think is funny, and it doesn't land, and then someone goes, "Ooh, I guess you had to be there." So I thought that I wrote it down because I thought it would be a funny sort of retort, if you will, to a punchline met by silence, to be like, okay, I guess you had to be there, which is, it's a funny thing to say because they are there. They are there. It's just not funny. But anyways, I thought it'd be a good name for a podcast, especially since I'm kind of dabbling in the stand-up comedy world. So guess you had to be there with Lee Service. That's what it is. That's this podcast. This is episode 2. Got a few listens. Quick turnaround. I did the first one Monday. Today's Wednesday, and we're doing episode 2. I had some time on my hands. my wife took our daughter to IKEA. They wanted to go to IKEA. I thought they were going to go at some point during the day today while I was at work, but they didn't. They did other things, and so they're gone there now. I gotta say, I have so much energy right now. I'm still off the weed. Haven't caved yet. Did I think about looking for the weed when my wife and daughter backed out of the driveway? Yeah, I did. Because I don't know if I mentioned this, but I gave my weed to my wife. Because am I quitting? You listener, you get to hear addiction lie. I know it's just weed, and some of you are probably rolling your eyes going, okay, buddy, enough with the addiction stuff. It's just weed. But I got to tell you, I'm addicted to the stuff. Because she pulled out of the driveway, and my first thought was, I bet I could find it. I bet I could find that little bag. I bet I could find it, and then I could smoke one. I could smoke a little doobie. And wouldn't that be nice? But do you know what I did instead? Do you know what I did? I did a 15-minute kettlebell workout. And that's why I'm jacked right now, because I set up the microphone, I set up my stuff, I opened up a session in Pro Tools. I use Pro Tools to record, and set up the mic, turned it on. Oh, I don't have... It's because I just turned on the phantom power, which I don't know exactly what it does, but you're supposed to use it with condenser microphones. So anyways, I'm feeling strong mentally because I said to myself, no, I'm not going to go rooting around for a bag of weed that my wife is hiding on me like I'm a 12-year-old, like some sort of crackhead. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something healthy. I poured a big glass of water and I did a 15-minute, pretty intense kettlebell workout. And my blood is flowing and I feel good. I feel pretty good. I feel a lot better than I would have if I would have smoked a doob. And do you know what I would have done? The old me would have looked for the bag and I would have found it. I would have found it. I promise you, I would have found it. And I would have smoked one. And then I would have sat on my computer. Sorry if you hear. I'm a fidgeter. I can't not. If I'm doing, like, I got to be playing with something. And I keep dropping. I've got this little zip tie that I've balled up into this thing and I'm playing with it. So I apologize. And I apologize if I sound a bit manic, right? I was listening back to the first episode, not the whole thing, just kind of skimmed through it to see kind of what the vibe was. You know what I mean? And I noticed that, especially towards the end, it got very low energy. Probably a good podcast for when you want to sleep, something to sleep to. So I'm going to try and keep it up. And I think maybe exercising before I do it is a good way to have the energy up. So anyways, I'll take that as a win. I didn't smoke weed. I did a kettlebell workout and now I'm podcasting and then I'm planning on making something to eat and watching Project Hail Mary because I've been hearing from people whose opinions I trust that it's a great movie. And I mean, who doesn't love Gosling, right? You gotta love the Goss. Gosling, isn't that like a baby goose? Isn't a baby goose a Gosling? He kind of looks like a baby goose, to be honest. Like he's like a fuzzy little guy, you know what I mean? Speaking of looking like things, on my other podcast with my friend Aaron Hill, Aren't We Special, where we no, we don't review. We watch stand-up specials and then we talk about them. That's what we do. We just throughout the week we drop clips, and it's a video podcast. It's kind of a real deal. We put quite a bit of work into it. We were working on it for months before we even released the first episode. The artwork is great. Aaron painted our faces on eggs, which is like a part of his Lithuanian culture or something like that. I don't know. We were trying to figure out what to do. I was making things on with AI, which is a controversial topic. People don't like that. Some people. Back when I had my open mic at Hyde Smokehouse, I would make posters for the event using AI because I'm not a graphic artist. I can't afford. It's not an event that makes money. I don't make any money hosting open mics. So I'm not gonna pay to have a poster made. And my wife does know how to do graphic design. She's very good at it. But she does that for her job, and you know how it is. The last thing you want to do after doing your job all day is do more of your job. Like, that's why I have baseboards coming off the wall in my basement, because even though I do carpentry, residential carpentry all day, when I get home, I don't want to look at another baseboard. I don't want to do it. I wonder if dental hygienists have a hard time brushing their own teeth. Like, I feel like if I was a dentist or a dental hygienist, I would wake up in the morning and be like, more teeth? I gotta clean my own teeth, and then I gotta go to work and clean other people's teeth, and then I gotta come home and probably clean my own teeth again? What is this? Do you ever brush? You ever be brushing your teeth and think to yourself, how many more times am I gonna have to do this? These are the thoughts that plague me. I have a hard time with the monotonous parts of life. Like, I think that's why I've been smoking weed for such a long time, why weed is so appealing. Because when you smoke weed, you can be brushing your teeth but be on another planet in your mind, man, you know? You can go on a journey. Yeah, you're brushing your teeth here in the physical world, but that's not where your brain is. It's not where my brain was anyways. So, yeah. So I'm sober as a judge. I was thinking, I mentioned on the first episode that we are doing the Hope Volleyball Beach Volleyball tournament festival thing this weekend, and I was thinking I might choose to indulge after the tournament, and when it's time to just watch the bands. And I think that would be fun. Because, I mean, but I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Because I mentioned, again, on the last episode that it might be an all or nothing thing. I don't know. But I think as long as my wife holds on to it for me, and I kind of use her as like my, my pharmacist, I can be like, hey, I'd really like to smoke one at the music festival. And then she can give me one, and then I can smoke it, and then that can just be fine. And I can not have more until another occasion. Or I don't, and I just raw dog it. Raw dogging life, they say, is like a trend. I forgot to start the timer. How long have I been going for? I wish there's a way for this to tell me. Anyways, doesn't matter. I'm probably going about 15 minutes. I'll go till the timer says 45. So yeah, sober as a judge here at the house, and feeling good after that kettlebell workout. Feeling pretty good. And I don't know, maybe hit me in the comments if you are a weed smoker, or maybe you used to smoke weed, or maybe it's not weed, maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's another drug, any type of addiction. Hit me up with what you did and what you think about is it something you can dabble? I know with alcohol it seems to be that people who have a problem with alcohol, it's definitely all or nothing with alcohol. It seems like once you get to the point where you kind of hit rock bottom, like that's it, you're done. And it seems like a lot of alcoholics use cannabis. Not constantly, but maybe, like I heard Jelly Roll. I was listening to Jelly Roll talk on a podcast. And he's talking about how obviously he's, hangs out in bars. He's around alcohol. He's in the music industry. And so he's around it, and you still get those cravings, I'm sure he starts jonesing for a cocktail every once in a while, or a beer, or whatever. And I heard him say that he'll step outside for a minute and take a toot on his weed vape or whatever. So I don't know if I don't think it's, there's the thing is, alcohol will ruin your life if you abuse it. It will ruin your life. Like you look at people that are just hitting it hard constantly, and you get into your 70s or whatever, even 60s. It's not a good look. But then weed, on the other hand, seems to be not so bad. Willie Nelson seems to be doing pretty good. Snoop Dogg, he seems to do okay. Seth Rogen has had a good career, is having a good career. That guy is definitely a wake and baker. So, but everyone's different, right? It's what's good for the goose is not always good for the gosling. Okay? And that's Ryan Gosling we're talking about. Project Hail Mary. Gonna be watching that in a bit. I started it, and I was intrigued. The first 10 minutes, I was intrigued. I love the space stuff. I do. Very fascinated by space travel, the moon missions. Should we get into how I feel about the moon missions? Ooh, it's getting spicy. Okay, here it is. Let's do it. It's just a matter of time. Second episode, let's crack it open. I'm not going to say that I don't believe that we landed on the moon, but I don't not believe that we landed on the moon. And as I said that sentence, I was like, I don't even know what that means. But here's what I'm trying to say. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I'm sort of agnostic about it. I am not entirely convinced that we have been to the moon. I think it is crazy to think that we landed on the moon in 1969 and continued to land people on the moon until 71 or something like that. And then we didn't do it for 50 years. And then the best we could do recently on the Artemis 2 mission was fly around it. What? You could do it 50 years ago, but we're just going to take a hot lap this time. Why? What's up with that? I actually had a joke about it where where I said it was more topical when the thing was happening. I said Artemis 2 flew around the moon and returned. You would think with all the speculation, skepticism maybe, I said, around moon landings, they would have stuck the landing, you know? It reminds me of an argument I had with my wife. She was like, you never get groceries. You probably don't even know how to do groceries. So to prove her wrong, I got in the car and drove around the grocery store. So it was, whatever. I only told that joke once and it did just okay. So, but you know what? I figure this is the environment where it's really going to kill. Hey, you know what? Guess you had to be there. Where's my slide whistle? No, I'll say that's an Aren't We Special thing. So yeah, I just don't know. I'm not really convinced. You watch the videos, like there's things that are crazy about it. There's things that are undeniably crazy about the 1969 moon landing. For example, Richard Nixon, president at the time, is live on the air on like a news network or whatever. And he's like, the boys are on the moon. And he picks up a landline and he's talking to Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin on the surface of the moon, supposedly, from a landline, like a rotary dial telephone that he's got to his face. In 1969, years before cellular technology, like pretty, like were phones even, like I'm pretty sure it was the party line still at that time. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff about it that's just crazy. Also, you ever think about the suits, the astronauts' suits? What's the temperature on the moon? Let's Google it. Hang on. Where am I? Here, can I do it from here? Search by voice. What is the temperature on the surface of the moon? Moon surface temperatures fluctuate wildly from scorching daytime highs of approximately 250 Fahrenheit, 120 Celsius. 120 Celsius. It's 30 right now, and you feel like you're gonna die. To freezing nighttime lows around minus 130 Celsius. Okay. So, here's my point. We've never been to the moon before, but we successfully designed a suit that insulated them and heated or cooled them perfectly, also gave them the perfect amount of oxygen that they required in that environment. And what was the other thing? We also knew that the gravity on the moon was going to be whatever it is, 1/6 the gravity of Earth. And I'm sure they were weighted suits to account for that too, maybe, or whatever. Like all this stuff, the temperature, the air, the gravity. We just nailed it the first time. We created these suits and they were just perfect. You know, you never heard any like complaint like, you never heard Neil Armstrong going like, holy shit, it is hot up here, or it's really cold. You know, we might need to add a little insulation to this suit for next time, or I don't know. It's just crazy that we just nailed it if we did. And again, I'm not saying we didn't. I'm saying I don't know if we did. I'm a skeptic. And people say, oh, all those people are able to keep a secret for that long, I think so. I think when there's money involved, and and it's also I think it's possible that a lot of people who, if it is fake, I think that there's only a select few people that actually know for a fact that it's fake, and that a lot of the people who worked at NASA, or currently work at NASA, are, it's all just like physics, and because you're not actually out there, you're just kind of like speculating and coming up with numbers and figures. And I'm not a smart guy, okay? I'm not saying that I understand it all. I'm skeptical. I'm not a flat earther. I'm not a big time conspiracy guy. You know what it is? I want it to be true so badly because I'm so fascinated by space travel, by the moon. I went through a period of my 20s where I was obsessed with the moon. I used to stand outside and smoke cigarettes and stare at the moon for hours. I would have dreams about the moon. It was a bit of a thing. And so I want it to be real so badly, and I just don't know. I'm not convinced. And so I was pretty excited about the Artemis 2 mission. And it was all live streamed. And I watched hours of it. For real, hours. Because they were up there for like 6 days or something. They did a lap around the Earth, and they went out or maybe 2 laps around the Earth, and then up and around the moon and back. And I watched so much of that live stream. And you know what they didn't have? They didn't have cool shots of the Earth and the moon from the live stream. Like, if I was producing a live stream of a spaceship going to the moon, I would have a camera at the front showing the moon getting closer, and a camera at the back showing the Earth getting farther away for the duration of the thing. Like, it would be like a split screen where you could see the moon getting closer and the Earth getting farther away. There was none of that. There was no... They released photos afterwards. And the other thing, so no convincing photos or video of moon or Earth, in my opinion. Nothing we haven't seen before. Like, any of the pictures was, to me, nothing we haven't seen before. And then also the reactions of the so-called astronauts. They're like, that would be a wild experience. Imagine being in that little spacecraft halfway between the Earth and moon, and seeing the Earth in its entirety. And they did have, there was sort of like a little press conference where they talked a little bit, and I just wasn't convinced. I felt like it wasn't genuine. I feel like they had stuff, predetermined things that they were going to say, and then speaking of press conferences, there was press conferences with the astronauts when they returned, and they were talking about their experience. And again, there was like zero emotion in it. It seemed like it was scripted. At one point, the lady, I forget her name, but the lady that went, just completely lost her train of thought halfway through it and just like went silent and was like, like, this would be a life-changing, mind-blowing experience that you would never forget. And to just kind of like lose track halfway through a sentence and be lost for words, I don't get it. I don't understand it. So yeah, like I said, I feel like, and it's funny how people get upset when you question things like that. It's like they go, oh, you're, one get, because I posted something about it on Facebook, and this guy, another comedian in Ottawa that I've only met once, and I won't say who it was because I'm not trying to whatever, but his comment was, don't have kids or something like that, meaning like, I'm such an idiot for not believing that Artemis 2 went around the moon that I shouldn't procreate. And obviously he's joking, he's a comedian, but that's what they say about humor, there's truth in it, is usually why it's funny, why it's effective. So, and this guy is a bit of an online troll, I'll be honest. He sounds off on his things, and yeah, I was just kind of like, and there was someone else too, a girl that I know, who was like, said something about it like, this is concerning, because there was people who agreed with me and commented like, yeah, it's fake or whatever. And someone was like, this is concerning, or I forget what the word was. It was something along the lines of concerning, and I'm like, because people are questioning things? Why? Like, aren't we past the point of the days where we watch the news, the mainstream media, and go, well, that's what they said on the TV, so that's true. And you know what else I found very not convincing? The fact that it was live streamed, and when things are live streamed, you can see the amount of people tuned in. I think the most people I saw tuned in was like 250,000 people. This is a big deal. We haven't been to the moon in 50 years, and it's being live streamed, the whole thing, and nobody cares. Nobody cares. Why? Well, maybe they're not convinced. I feel like if it was, I wonder how many people watched the original moon landing. But that was in the days where you bought it, you bought in. So yeah, I find that crazy. And there's this thing that people do where when they disagree with you or they don't like the questions you're at, like, because I'm not even, like I said, I'm not even in a position. I might have worded it in a way that made it sound like I really thought that it was fake, but I was mostly just frustrated at the fact that I was so not convinced. So it probably came across that I was completely thinking it was completely fake. And like I said, I don't know. And here's the thing. Neither do you. No matter who you are, no matter how strongly you can believe that we did go to the moon and Artemis 2 went around the moon, you can believe that with every fiber in your being. But guess what? Unless you were on that spacecraft, you don't know. You don't actually know. You can have faith that we've been to the moon if you want. That's a strange thing to have faith in my opinion. Like, that's what it is, right? People have so much faith and trust in these institutions, and I'm just like, why? Well, for what reason? They lie. They're liars. Something I heard somebody say recently, and I couldn't agree more. The most annoying thing, well, not the most. One of the more annoying things that Donald Trump has done was how he labeled the fake news, right? No one heard of fake news before. Like, people had had their opinions and stuff like that. But he was the first guy in the public eye, at that level anyways, to be like, it's all fake. And it's fake news. And it's a unfortunate thing because he is who he is and how everybody hates him. Aside obviously from the majority of the United States who obviously voted for him. So many people, especially here in Canada, people just hate him. People hate him. Hate Donald Trump. Canada is not doing well. I can say that. In 2026, Canada is not doing well. We are getting, like, in a very short time, homes have become unaffordable. Groceries are wildly expensive. Gas is wildly expensive. And Canadians could care less because they're so busy fixated on Donald Trump and all the terrible things he's doing. And I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm not even American. I could care less about Donald Trump. What bothers me about these people is not that I even disagree with them. It's that your house is on fire and you're so focused on the clown in the next house that you're just completely ignoring your own problems. And anyways, we're really getting into it. We're really getting into it. And I honestly find it to be a bit of a sickness. I know people who just can't stop. I was at my daughter's soccer game yesterday, and there was this dad sitting on the bench, kind of like 15 feet behind us, and he's on his phone the whole time, and he's got two like teenage kids with him. And every 5 minutes or so, you could tell he's just doom scrolling. And it's a beautiful day. There's a soccer game. Kids are playing, having fun. You get the canal behind you, and he's scrolling. And then every 5 minutes or so, listen to this, the orange man, blah, blah, blah. Just like, what are you doing, man? First of all, not your problem. There's nothing you're not even an American citizen. There's nothing you can do about it. Like, we have our own problems here, but also just put your phone down and enjoy the weather. We had 2 months of nice weather in this country, and you're just doom scrolling, having anxiety about Donald Trump. Give it a rest. Anyways, point is, the way the Donald Trump coining the phrase fake news has had an effect on so many people that it's like, well, if he thinks it's fake, I'm going to say it's real because I hate Donald Trump. So you're never going to catch me saying that the news is fake. You're never going to catch me, I'm going to believe everything that I see on the news because Donald Trump says that it's fake and I hate him. So, but in reality, he's right. The news is fake. The news is 100% fake because all you have to do is watch 20 minutes of CNN and then watch 20 minutes of Fox. They'll cover the same stories but they'll be the opposite from each other. In Canada, we don't have left and right media. We only have one. We have one-sided media, and then anything that's sort of right-winged or whatever is independent. There's like Rebel News, and I'm sure there's other ones, and I'm at the point where everything is so biased and so divided that I honestly don't consume any news anymore. I'm not on Twitter. I don't trust CBC. I don't trust any of it. So I'm completely tuned out. I have no sweet clue what's happening in the world. I know that Canada seems to be in trouble because, as I mentioned before, I work in residential construction, and I've been in the residential construction industry for some time, and I've never seen it this slow. Like the site that I'm on, I've been on for 3.5 years. And if it, like, if I would have started there 5 years earlier, that site would have been done 3 years ago. We still have 30 homes, 31 to be exact, homes left to build on that site. But we still have 10 homes that are sitting there with no one in them. And the builder is paying to heat them and cool them and maintain them. And they're just sitting there, and because nobody's buying them, because they're ridiculously expensive. And it's not just the homes. If homes were expensive and life was affordable, then you could go, okay, well, it'll be tough, but groceries are cheap, gas is affordable. I think if we are smart with our money, we can swing it, and the bank would be like, okay, well, yeah, a lot of your income is going to be going towards your mortgage, but otherwise, life in Canada is pretty affordable, so you can do it. But that is not the case. Homes are through the roof. Gas is through the roof. Groceries are through the roof. I don't understand how in like 10 years we went from a country that had a promising future for our kids, where, it was understood that Canada is a tough go. We have long winters, It's not all puppies and rainbows up here. You got to be tough to survive these winters. They are mentally exhausting sometimes, There's parts of the year where it's freezing cold outside. You get in your car, you drive to work in the dark, and the snow is blowing in your face as you're walking into work. Or if you work outside, I've worked outside for most of my adult life. Only recently have I been working more inside as a finishing carpenter. But even then, I have duties that I have to do. I have to make sure that the snow is cleared off of the porches of the homes I'm working in and stuff like that, and put salt on the ice. And so it's a tough go. Canada is a tough go. You drive to work in the dark. You work all day, sometimes in the freezing cold, and then you get back in your car and you're driving home, and the sun is going down. It's dark again. There's a good chunk of time where it's like, it's just cold and dark, and it's tough. But there was always the argument that it's a safe country. It's an affordable country. You can raise your kids here, and they can grow up and get jobs, and we have good health care, and they can get jobs, and they can make good lives and provide for their families because they can afford to have their own homes. And that's gone now. That is gone. Young people today in Canada have no really, I'm not going to say no hope, because yeah, you can save for a long time, and it's a crazy time. It's a crazy time to have a kid. I have a 12-year-old daughter, and when I hear things like the majority of kids in post-secondary education these days aren't even sure if the jobs that they're studying for are going to be available by the time they graduate because of AI. That's crazy. Was talking to a guy at work today whose daughter is in her 20s. She's like 21 or something, has a university degree, studied for some type of position, and is unable to get a job in her field because it's like it's not there anymore. They're not hiring those people anymore. And maybe that's why people get mad when I use AI to make posters. But I think, a little context is important here. I'm not the reason people aren't getting jobs because of my AI open mic poster. So, and like I said, I wouldn't have been giving that to a graphic artist and paying a graphic artist anyways. I would have drawn something on a napkin and photocopied it. And people say, oh, well, I'd rather you do that. Well, fine, but it doesn't look as good. It's not all bad. It's like the internet. The internet isn't all bad. There's bad stuff about it. There's good stuff about it. I think there's good stuff about AI. For example, I was having pretty intense lower back pain a few weeks ago, and it was pretty consistent, and it was really bothering me. And I was kind of at a loss, and so finally I went on GPT and I explained exactly what was happening, how it was progressing through the day, and a bit about my physicality or whatever. And it said, it sounds like you have weak glutes and tight hips. Try these exercises. And I did what it told me. I started doing lunges, hip thrusts, and these exercises called bird dogs. And honestly, I started doing those, and I'm still doing them every day because I've been feeling good. And I did those exercises, and within 3 days, my back pain basically went away completely. Like ChatGPT just nailed it. And sometimes they do. So there's good and there's bad. And you could make the argument, oh, well, that is, now you're taking jobs away from a physiotherapist. Well, the last time I went to a physiotherapist, she completely misdiagnosed me and had me doing exercises that didn't help me at all. That was for a different thing, but so, people are flawed. And she was young and not terribly experienced, I think, so I'm not mad about it, but whatever. It is what it is. So Canada's in rough shape. It's a pet peeve of mine. I'm sorry for the heaviness of this episode. I don't think this is going to get me a lot of listeners per se, but I'm speaking from the heart. It's something that bothers me, and not a lot of people want to hear about it. My wife definitely doesn't want to hear about it. Anytime I start talking about this stuff, she goes, oh my God, can you just focus on the nice things? And I do for the most part. I do. Like I said, I don't consume any news. I don't talk about it a lot. But it's just kind of a pet peeve when people are fixated on hating certain people, hating Elon Musk. You have to hate Elon Musk. You have to hate Donald Trump. Canadians so focused on hating these people and following this stupid whatever they do. I mean, oh look, oh, you see this and I see what he said about this and see what he did now. And like, I promise you that those people are not your problem, are not at fault for anything that's negatively affecting your life. Sure, the tariffs, they didn't help, but are tariffs the reason we're in this situation in Canada? No, they're not. I promise you that. We were screwed well before tariffs. The COVID-19 thing destroyed our economy. Destroyed it. Destroyed small businesses. And I don't know if we'll ever get back. to a country where there's hope for the younger generation to own homes and have a good life. It seems to not be the plan for the future. The UN, the United Nations, has an agenda. And that word agenda, a lot of people go, as soon as you say agenda, people go, oh, here we go. He's a right-wing conspiracy theorist. But just Google United Nations 2030 agenda, because that's exactly what it's called. And they have targets that they want to meet. And you could understand how life is going to change over the next little while. And is it going to be better? I don't know. I hope so, because my daughter's very young and she has a lot of life to live. And I hope that she has a good life. That's all I really care about at the end of the day. Her and young people in her situation. Because it's kind of unfair, We grew up with a certain quality of life. Most of us grew up in the suburbs, in home, decent homes with a little bit of space, a little bit of room to run around, not big. I never had a big house. We always had kind of modest homes. But it seems like the future generations are going to be renting little apartments from the government. That's kind of how it seems to be playing out. And I'm not excited about it, because I don't think that's but you think about it, the government, the second you get yourself a social insurance number and you start working a job, you are essentially an employee of your government. The amount of tax that they are taking from you, from your life, if you tallied it up, it would be absolutely insane. And what was the point? The point is, and governments are businesses, right? Plain and simple. A government is a business. Countries are businesses. And what do they want? They want to make money. So if you were in charge, would you want all these people owning their own homes and investing in themselves? Because that's basically what you're doing. Aside from the interest you're paying to the bank, every time you make a mortgage payment, you're kind of paying yourself in a way. You're kind of saving that money, because it's you're paying off a loan, but it's a loan that's allowed you to own this home that is hopefully going to continue to appreciate over time, and eventually you can sell it. I don't really have a retirement plan, to be honest. I don't have savings for retirement. My plan is to pay off my mortgage and then maybe invest in something else, like a piece of land or something, and just kind of keep working at least part-time until I can't anymore, and then sell something. Or you can sell your house back to the bank if you have to. That's kind of my plan, because I've moved around to so many jobs that I've never had a pension really. And that's kind of my plan. But anyways, back to the government. If you were running the government, would you, remember, you're a business. The point is to make money. You pretend to care about people, right? But do you really? No, you don't. You care about making money. So you want all these people investing in themselves? No. You want to make houses so expensive that nobody can afford them anymore, and everybody's got to rent from you. Why would, say your mortgage is $2,000 a month. You want Jimmy paying $2,000 a month investing in himself? No. You want that going straight into your pocket. And that's what it is. That's kind of what I feel like it is. But the fake news thing, it's like, because Donald Trump says the news is fake, well, then that's a crazy right-wing idea. It's not fake. It's you should believe it. You should believe in the moon landing. You should believe the news. You gotta trust the science, man. It's science. What, you don't believe in science? That's what they say, right? And the people who make these arguments, they always have this kind of holier than thou, self-righteous thing where it's like, well, you're uneducated. You just don't understand. Because you're dumb, basically. When you question things, that's what they do. Because people who are university educated, especially university, people who are university educated are taught a very specific curriculum that aligns with the industry, with the mainstream. You know, there's not a single university that's gonna tell you that you should question the moon landing or history or whatever. Like, even history. I was thinking about this today because since I've not been smoking weed, I feel like I have to keep my mind active more because it's less active on its own. And I just want to, I want to read. I want to podcast. I want to write jokes. I want to do whatever. I want to keep my mind busy. I was thinking it would be cool to learn something new, like maybe do an online course or something like that. And I was thinking history would be cool because I don't know history. The ADD has been too mighty my whole life to pay attention to anything. But then I was thinking about this today, like, do I even believe history? Because like, how real is history? How are we getting this information from hundreds of years ago or 100 years ago, whatever? It's like it was written by a guy. Well, that's one guy's opinion, or not opinion, but one guy's account of what happened, which is pretty insane that we take these historical accounts and we go, yep, this is what happened. This is how it happened. Like, there's examples of it. The Civil War, for example. Or no, sorry. The War of 1812. And I'm not going to pretend to know exactly what happened, but I know that Canada was involved and it was with the United States. And I think Canada actually set the White House on fire, which is crazy because nobody seems to talk about that. And it was a fight between Canada and the United States for whatever reason. But apparently in American history books, the United States won that war. And if you talk to other people or read other books or whatever, it's like, no, Canada won. I don't know. So that's just an example. Again, I don't know anything. I'm a stupid idiot. I don't know history. I don't know what the War of 1812 was about. Hit me in the comments if you know. Give me your opinion. Maybe I'll look into it. Maybe this turns into a history podcast. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. And I don't want that. But I do find it interesting. But I'm just like, for example, history, the moon landing is part of history. And maybe that didn't happen. Maybe it did. But maybe it didn't. So, and I think that's why people get angry, because they're like, oh, well, you're just gonna, like, why Like, you're just going to question everything? You don't know. Well, yeah, I am. I am going to question everything. It's the type of guy I am. It's how I've always been. If I can't see it, touch it, feel it, I don't know. You're going to have to convince me, you know? I think that's why I struggled with faith in God for a long time, because I was like, but how? Why? You know, like, show me the money. And then I even went through a phase in my early 30s where I was choosing atheism for a while. I was like, well, you know what? I think I'm over this God stuff, and I think it's all a sham, and I'm gonna choose atheism. And that was fine, you know. There's nothing nice about atheism, in my opinion. It might just not matter at all for some people. But I grew up going to church. I grew up around religious people, and, you know, prayer and reading the Bible, and that was all a part of my life growing up. And I guess I kind of got soured on it, and then I got away from it, and to the point of a sort of an atheism trial. And then I basically came to the point where I was like, well, I can either... God's not going to show up in my living room and say, hey, Lee, look at this. I'm real. You're being silly with your atheism. Here I am. Now you know. That's not going to happen. That's not how it works. So I made a decision to have faith, because that's what it comes down to, is faith. I decided to have faith in God and the Bible, and do that. So I would call myself a Christian, and I'm not a good Christian. I don't pray or read the Bible nearly as much as I should, and I don't know why, because I always feel better when I do. You know, I feel like I feel more aligned when I do. And maybe I should start doing that more. And maybe on this path that I'm on of being sober-minded and not smoking weed, maybe that's where it's headed. Maybe I'll start reading my Bible more. Maybe I'll start talking about the Bible on this podcast. But the news is fake. I don't think we landed on the moon. I believe in God and Jesus and the Bible. And I'm not happy with the direction that Canada is headed in. But at the same time, I'm so grateful for all that I have and my life and the fun things I get to do. And I don't want to sound like I'm really complaining a lot, because I have an amazing life. I'm healthy. My wife is healthy. My daughter is healthy. My family is healthy, and everybody's doing well. And, you know, we're not begging for change for food. It hasn't come to that. And it's important to have gratitude, but at the same time, you can have gratitude and still be aware of what's happening around you when you're not focused on these people that you're conditioned to hate in a different country that have nothing to do with you. That's kind of my point, I guess. And this is a bit heavy. This is heavier than I thought the Guess You Had to Be There podcast was going to be. But it's where we are. So, I wish I could end it on a lighter note, but I think I'm past an hour at this point, and I'll make up for it on the next episode. But yeah, hit me in the comments. I'm on the YouTube and I'm on the Spotify. Let me know if you're with me, if you are think I'm an idiot now. Go for it. Let me know. Let me know what you think. Love it or hate it. It is what it is. That was another episode of Guess You Had to Be There. See you next time.